What's happening, party people? rhY'z Anti-Corporate Newz. Let's get into it. So Twitter has now suspended the account of MyPillow's Mike Lindell. I don't know much about Mike Lindell, but, obviously popular figure in the conservative end. And, Twitter has now suspended his account, so no surprise there, right? Luke Rudkowski from We Are Change says, if you're on the side that wants to silence anyone that criticizes them, you're not on the good side. Well, despite all the grammatical errors, you're 100% right, Luke. Pfizer says its COVID vaccine trial for kids ages 12 to 15 is fully enrolled. That is terrifying. What kind of parent would put their kids into an experimental vaccine? It's not even a vaccine. It's technically not a vaccine. Social network MeWe caves to big tech censorship and begins purging accounts. MeWe, one of the many social networks I didn't get around to trying just because I'm lazy and there's too many alternatives. Here's a picture of Elon Musk with his kids underneath Las Vegas in the Boring Company tunnel. So apparently that's happening. Epoch Times says, President Biden condemns violence and any violence in the strongest possible terms. Peaceful protests are a cornerstone of our democracy, but smashing windows is not protesting, and neither is looting. But yet, it was okay all summer when Antifa and BLM was doing it, but now it's not? Senator Rand Paul says, I object to this unconstitutional sham of an impeachment trial, and I will force a vote on whether the Senate can hold a trial of a private citizen. Yeah, I do think that's unconstitutional. Good point, Rand. Although I wish you were more like your dad, who's so much better than you in every way. President Donald Trump has formally opened the office of the 45th president. What? Representative Lauren Boebert introduced 3 bills this week. A bill to prevent funding for the Paris Accord, a bill to halt funding to the World Health Organization until we hold them accountable for their role in COVID. Yeah, the World Health Organization lied about everything regarding COVID at the outset. A bill to overturn Biden's mask mandate. Yeah, there's nothing constitutional about the mask mandate. I'm not wearing one. You shouldn't either. Texas Representative Ron Paul, former Texas Representative Ron Paul says, when fascism comes, it will be wearing a mask. Ron, I love you. Love you, Ron. That was like the worst heart ever. CIA asset Pete Buttigieg says that gasoline tax hike is incoming. Many people obviously are opposed to a gasoline tax. I happen to be one of them. The Biden regime is considering allocating COVID-19 funds to climate change programs. Because this Peter pandemic is so serious, we're going to take the money and spend it on saving the planet. According to the Epoch Times, the White House has signaled that it will continue a tough on China approach in response to a speech by CCP leader Xi Jinping at the WEF that called for countries to cast aside ideological prejudice and reject the outdated Cold War mentality. Does that include slave labor? Should we cast aside ideological prejudice when it comes to slave labor? China? Is that what you want us to do? We want us to sell slave labor. That's ideological prejudice to be against slave labor. Once again, House Democrats have delivered articles of impeachment against now former President Donald Trump to the Senate. Yeah, they're trying to impeach a guy who's already not in office. Like, where's the precedent? Where's the legal precedent for this? Where's the constitutional basis for this? Rand Paul was correct. Jimmy Dore apparently interviewed a member of the Boogaloo Boys. He was completely floored when he said he is pro-LGBTQ, pro-Black Lives Matter, anti-police brutality, anti-racism, anti-ICE, anti-war. Radicalized Michigan anarchist seeks unity with the left. Yeah, that's the thing. The left and the right, they're both completely opposite of what the corporations want, specifically the corporate Republican and Democratic parties. The corporate Republican and Democratic parties are not interested in the well-being of the American populace at this point, obviously. Swamp Thing Chuck Schumer says impeachment trial is necessary to bring healing. Yeah. Not like, counting the votes or like having an unfair a fair and unbiased media, and not, uncensorable public forums like Twitter and Facebook where people can say what they want politically without having their accounts banned. Yeah, that wouldn't bring healing. No. What's going to bring healing is an impeachment trial against a former president. Now here is a powerful meme here. Here's the $15 an hour minimum wage choking out small businesses barely surviving the lockdown. And here's Google, Apple, and Amazon all excited about it. That is where we're living today. So this is a Venn diagram of all the dystopias that have been written in science fiction and where we are. It's true. We're part 1984, part Brazil, part... This is just a great, great meme. Once again, Luke Rudkowski, thank you for that, brother. Apparently one of the first SpaceX rockets has landed 8 times now. 8 flights and 8 landings for booster 1051. Marching closer to 10 flights per rocket. So fully reusable rockets are happening, people. So we do live in the future. Unfortunately, it's the dystopia we painted out earlier. The memes surrounding Joe Biden allowing biological males to compete in women's sports are pretty epic. This is from an episode of South Park. If you haven't seen this episode of South Park, it's pretty good. Swamp Thing Mitch McConnell says there are now assurances Democrats will not abolish the filibuster. Well, I don't see how that would be constitutional anyway, but that's good news, I guess. Swamp Thing Mitch McConnell. California will end its stay-at-home orders today. Chicago reopened indoor dining last week. Michigan will allow restaurants to open next week. Either Joe Biden is a miracle worker or these Democratic lockdowns were political all along. This Peter pandemic was political all along. Who knew? According to the Epoch Times, more governors are calling home their National Guard units following accounts of thousands saying they have been banished to the parking garage of the U.S. Capitol. Yeah, what is going on? Why did they have all those National Guard there anyway? Nothing even happened. The whole January 6th thing was a psyop anyway. We know that. What the hell? Joe Biden says the federal government also owns an enormous fleet of vehicles, which we're going to replace with clean electric vehicles made right here in America by American workers, creating millions of auto worker jobs. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, Joe. And secondly, what? You're just going to only buy Tesla? All of us want a Tesla, and we can't afford one. And by you buying all of them, the price will just not go down, and then nobody can afford a Tesla even worse. You're just making everybody's life worse, Joe. Oh, and by the way, buying a Tesla isn't good for the environment anyway. So much of the destruction of the environment goes into making a Tesla that it would be way better to just refurbish existing vehicles. Or in every way. But, let's not get into that minor detail. Nearly 20% of American renters are behind on payments, analysis shows. Yeah, you don't say. You stop the entire economy, kill all small businesses in the country, and suddenly everybody's behind on rent? How did that happen? One of the least productive Congresses in U.S. history spent a record amount of time on social media. Yeah. Spending time on social media is a waste of everybody's time. And if you're in Congress, Southwest Airlines has become the last of the nation's 6 large carriers to ban emotional support animals from passenger flights. So no more little doggies on your plane flight. Although I'm sure they'll require vaccine ID soon enough anyway, so nobody's going to fly anyway, or they're going to be, autistic, one or the other. United States Senate confirms Swamp Thing Janet Yellen as the nation's 78th Secretary of the U.S. Treasury because her tenure at the Federal Reserve was so great. Let's give her another job. Telling us to kill ourselves. Bar owner facing lawsuit for denying lockdown says she's received death threats. Now, I think telling somebody to kill themselves is not a death threat. That's very odd. Unless you were claiming you were going to hypnotize somebody into killing themselves, that could be a death threat. Yeah, but telling somebody to go kill themselves is not a death threat. When did we become such pansies? You should be able to tell somebody to go kill yourself. There should be nothing wrong with that. By the way, Bill Gates, you know what to do, buddy. The FBI and local law enforcement are investigating an explosion that occurred Saturday at a Los Angeles area church that is known for its open condemnation of homosexuality. That's right. You heard it here first. Homosexual terrorists. 2021. We got homosexual terrorists. Yay. Swamp Thing Senator Mitch McConnell said the Biden regime's $1.9 trillion stimulus package misses the mark while stating that several Democratic senators have told him they don't support the measure. How about a $0 stimulus package? How about we just don't spend any money? How about we stop spending money? What would that look like? I mean, it hasn't been tried in like 50 years. Let's give that a shot. This is a bizarre way to phrase an article from the Daily Caller. The Biden regime to sign order protecting U.S. manufacturing as carrier strike group enters the South China Sea. So we're literally sending one of our most lethal strike forces into the area of one of our biggest enemies on the planet. But we're going to start that article talking about manufacturing jobs? Okay. It's like brandishing a gun and being like, I'm going to work early today. But while you're pointing a gun at somebody, it's like, okay, but why are you pointing a gun at me? A pair of bills introduced in the Arkansas legislature last week would prohibit the use of public school funds to teach a curriculum based on the 1619 Project, which portrays the U.S. as an inherently racist nation founded upon slavery. Yeah. I can't say anything about that because I'm white. Everybody will get really upset. The Supreme Court rejected a case from a church in Nevada. The church alleged in its complaint that state officials moved non-essential secular businesses and activities to the front of the line and pushed churches towards the back. How about just no unconstitutional lockdowns? How about we just get rid of fascism? I thought we had Antifa all over the country. So why is all these fascist regimes allowed to make people close their churches and small businesses? That's the height of fascism. You can't run a business. That's fascism. Apollo CEO Leon Black steps down over $150 million payment to Jeffrey Epstein. Wow. But don't worry, you guys. Pizzagate is definitely not real. Jeffrey Epstein definitely killed himself. And there's no way that Mossad is running all of our government and corporations. No possibility. Apparently, Senator Patrick Leahy, Swamp Thing Senator Patrick Leahy, will preside over the upcoming impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. We're going to impeach a guy who's living on a golf course in Florida. China overtakes U.S. for foreign business investments. We couldn't have seen that one coming. The Epoch Time reports, with radical left now in control of Washington, your governor is your last line of defense, said Sarah Huckabee Sanders. In fact, your governor must be on the front line. So today I announced my candidacy for governor of Arkansas. Yikes. Okay, well. Here's a report that says hookup culture is making us miserable. Wow, you don't say. Being a total whore, it makes you miserable. Who would have ever known? I mean, it's not like we have thousands and thousands of years of data to show you that being a whore makes you miserable. Or, just our college lives. Apparently, the movement to recall fascist dictator Gavin Newsom from the state of California is making steam. And they're saying that the lockdown was never about science. It was always about politics. Yeah. I didn't see any scientists out there with Q-tips measuring COVID on the tables or coming out of a trumpet player's trumpet. They made all these rules. You can't play trumpet. You can't sing. You can't run a bar. But they didn't have scientists out there with Q-tips checking for COVID on every surface. There was no science to any of this. It's just total fascist lockdown for no reason. California, the state that's probably doing the worst out of all 50 states in many economic indicators, paid $11 billion last year in bogus claims for jobless aid tied to the pandemic, the state's labor secretary says, and is investigating possible fraud involving $20 billion more. So they just handed out $31 billion. New U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin reaffirmed America's commitment to Tokyo to defending a group of East China Sea islets claimed by both Japan and China, the Pentagon said. Yeah, so we're going to go to war with China for a couple of islands that Japan claims they owned. How's that going to work out? Big Pharma swamp demon Merck says it's stopping development of both of its vaccine candidates for COVID-19. The company is now focusing on 2 therapeutic candidates for the new virus. You mean the virus? You mean the vaccine where you still have to wear a mask and get your temperature checked every 5 minutes? Didn't work? The Biden regime acknowledges confusion on vaccine distribution, blames Trump administration. Over the past 4 years, the Trump administration confronted the CCP head-on, repudiating the belief that economic liberalization would lead to a democratic China, a belief that is now widely accepted as wrong. You don't say. The country making billions of dollars using slave labor isn't going to just suddenly give up their slave labor? Who knew? Swamp Thing and obvious sociopath Dr. Anthony Fauci says 2 masks are better than 1 because we did so much math on the 1 mask being better. Oh, right. There's only been 1 study, which actually showed that you are more likely to contract COVID while wearing a mask. Imagine my surprise when the mask man says that 2 masks are better than one. All right, that's it for me today, Internet fam. I hope you're enjoying rhY'z Anti-Corporate Newz. If you are, leave a like and a comment. If you aren't, leave a comment and a dislike. Let's get the conversation started, shall we? All right, everybody, have a great day. Oh, by the way, today was the news for January 25th, 2021. What a fortuitous day, fam.